All right, thank you everyone for that brief interlude. We have worked on the wording. Can we get it up on? Right.
During the adjournment, we've done some work on the resolution. I can read this out if anyone wishes me to. It's on the screen now. We can sort of go through it step by step, or if everyone's happy just to take a moment and have a look. Yep, no problem. So we have a number of points. The first point is that we will receive the report and we will receive the business case, and those two items are done under the delegation of this committee. The next items are that we will delegate to Waikato District Council, Waikato Regional Council, and now Auckland Council, that on the recommendation of the Future-Proof Public Transport Subcommittee that A, Waikato District Council and Waikato Regional Council considers funding for one or more new railway stations within their respective long-term plan and regional land transport plan processes, including funding a detailed business case, estimated cost $500,000, including a Waka Kotahi NZ Transport Agency contribution from the Interregional Public Transport Activity class in year one, with funding for pre-implementation and implementation from year 4, subject to the completion of a detailed business case. Item B, that on the recommendation of the Future-Proof Public Transport Subcommittee, that Waikato Regional and Auckland Councils engage on the development of an interregional rail and passenger transport strategy. Item C, Phil hasn't got to these yet in the report, so we'll leave these to live for now. And I'll hand back to Angela.
Thank you. Can you just move it down so we can see up to B, that people can mull over? So let's move on and we can come back if there's any questions. Have you got a point now, David?
I get the gist of the whole collective is good, but personally I think A should come subject to B. Hooray.
So can I suggest through the chair that again, instead of the word including, changing that to subject to, subject to Waka Kotahi to is it subject to Waka Kotahi Transport Agency co-investment contribution? Is it approval? Is a strategic view?
I think the broader issue is that we don't want it to be a focus on individual stops first versus a network review and the broader interregional travel. We just need to make sure that's worded, and that's why the concern is that one's A, is that will be the first thing you go to. You put a lot of money into a business case with consultants, when actually we need to look at the interregional travel between Auckland, Waikato as a broader picture before looking at individual stops, because we respect that we want to allow the rural communities of North Waikato to be able to travel effectively, but without looking at the interconnectivity of the wider network. So I'm not sure on the wording, but it just feels a bit back to front, because we're going to go into detail before looking at strategy.
Okay, we flipped it around. Just checking in with Eugene. comfortable with that? Ollie, did you have something to say?
Yeah, just looking at point B, I'm just wondering if there's been any consideration to creating an evidence-based accessibility plan in partnership with tangata whaikaha Māori and disabled people, similar to the ones in Auckland and in Wellington.
In terms of the indicative business case work that has been done, the very, very high level concept designs have been based on the Auckland standards, and they have definitely included the ensuring of access for everybody to those platforms, whether by underpass or overbridge. So access to the platforms has certainly been part of that. The carriages that we have today have their own intrinsic constraints, and the wheelchair hoist that's installed on the carriages is a solution to that. At the point that we get new rolling stock, aspirationally, that would be on the basis of level access straight onto the carriages. So I hope those have been included. When we do the next piece of work, all subject to these resolutions, we would make sure that that's included as a scope item, I would recommend.
Yeah, thank you, Ollie. Yeah, I think that's vitally important to keep in mind when we look at rolling stock and, like Phil said, the stations as well. So, yeah. Right, if everyone's comfortable with A and B, we can move on. Phil?
Okay, so the next couple of items are relatively quick. Firstly, just providing an update to the committee that Kiwi Rail are now working to refurbish a building close to the Strand station, which, when it is complete and open, will provide station facilities at that location for the first time. One of the things that's come up to us over and over has been the lack of facilities at the Strand, and we wanted to just acknowledge the work that Kiwi Rail are doing and advise you all that that's on track for completion, as we say, around the end of the year. That would include a ticket office, toilets, a cafe, seating, bike parking, and other things. So that's a really positive step forward. Item 4 is an update for you on the 2-year review that some of you may be aware was a condition within the original funding agreement for Te Huia. In 2021, an extension was sought due to the COVID impacts, and we have to provide a final report to the agency around the end of 2023. As part of that, we've been working on a dashboard to record performance of all of the key performance indicators. And there's an attachment there that just gives you an update. I think it's June or July numbers, just to give you a sense of what some of those KPIs are. So happy to take questions on that item. If not, I'll move on. The next item is following a survey that we undertook in May 2022. We've recently completed the May 2023 customer survey for Te Huia, which is a survey that's required for all services that we receive agency funding for. The survey is attached to the report. The summary headline is that our key performance indicator is 90% for overall customer satisfaction. 2022, we achieved 94%. The survey recently has come in with a score of 98%, which I think is an absolutely amazing result, and is in no small part due to the efforts of the regional council staff, but also the Kiwi Rail staff who are the face of the service every day on board. The report itself provides some more detail in specific areas, and I'm happy to answer any questions on the content of that attachment. That headline result is very strong.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Of those areas that customers were dissatisfied, What is staff doing to address that, including Kiwi Rail staff as well?
You find page.
So Wi-Fi, onboard services, cafe.
Wi-Fi is a service that's provided for free to customers, and over the course of the year, we've worked quite closely with people who've been directly struggling with the Wi-Fi service to try and help them work through difficulties. And I did a survey on board one day where I checked with everybody about the issues that they've been having, and then I worked through those with the supplier. We've seen an uplift in performance and a steady reduction in complaints about the Wi-Fi service over time, but it is still showing in the survey. There's a limit really to how much we can do with that, because it is effectively only as good as the performance of the masts alongside the train, and there are dead spots within the network that are then in dead spots in terms of the onboard service. So we're working to keep that service as good as it can be, and in the next few weeks we have the annual service of all of the Wi-Fi equipment just to make sure everything's working well. In terms of the cafe, we got some feedback relatively soon after the service launched about the lack of choice and the quality of some of the food, and we've worked with the Kiwi Rail team who've been quite up for trying new things and providing other options, and things like mueslis with a yogurt and also pot noodles, funnily enough, have been really popular as through the course of the day the needs of our customers evolves from breakfast to lunch to dinner and then a glass of wine. We do sell really, the products on board do sell very, very well, and we're always looking for ways to improve that. Again, the number of concerns raised to us has reduced significantly over the year, but again, it's in the survey, so it's something that we'll continue to focus on.
Thank you. And just journey planning, and I suppose for us connecting buses to the services as well. Where's our thinking around getting that a bit better, especially Frankton and the nighttime service coming into Karakia?
We did make some adjustments to the bus network. I think they were around 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more than that, to pick up some of those concerns. And we have now got services that do have better connections than previously. But again, there's always more that we can do on that. And the example of the large number of people arriving at Frankton through the free week and then not knowing where to go was another good example of us having an opportunity to do better there in terms of information to customers when they arrive.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Nicol, do you have a question?
Yeah, it's just coming to mind. Could you remind us, please, when the reviewers for the midday service that was thought the Friday, Saturday? I have in mind that it might be October.
Yes, you're quite right. So we were working hard to provide a third return on Thursdays, Fridays, and a second return on Saturdays, and we got close to achieving that, and then had constraints due to the lack of drivers primarily. Kiwi Rail committed to reviewing that situation for us in, I think it is late September, early October, with an aspirational view of being able to provide us with drivers to implement a service sometime thereafter. I don't have an update on exactly where that is at right now, but I know that they are working on it, and I've heard occasionally that there's work being done on drivers and their availability across the Upper North Island.
Thank you. Angus, did you have anything to update further?
No, Phil has characterised it correctly. We're still not in a position to give an update yet. We had said October publicly, but the intention was to get in touch with Waikato Regional Council late September, and it would take couple of months or so, if we do have them available at that time, to stand something up, which looks like, early 2024, once the blocks of line are lifted, would be the earliest it would be able to do it. And the reason for that is that we just need to stand up additional crews and do the required training for different team members, all of those sort of practical things. But we'll be in touch as soon as we can.
It's promising, thank you.
Councillor Maxine.
Yeah, thank you. Just in terms of buses getting to the station and the alignment of those, especially those early morning departure times, how aligned are we, and how, what kind of plans have we got to sort of connect it up so that if you want to make the journey from home to Auckland, you can do that. It's possible.
Looking around,
So through the chair, we're just going to wait. We just want staff support to answer that question in terms of how aligned we are for the early morning trips to Auckland. Whether you have the information or it's something that we, as staff, action takeaway to have a look at.
Yeah, that would be fine. If you haven't got it right now, then an action to bring it back would be helpful.
We'll note that.
And the other thing is at the Rotorkauri station, it's been ongoing issues with the elevator. Just can you give us a bit of an update on that level of security now?
That's you.
Excellent.
So through the chair, that is a Hamilton City Council asset, and we have had issues with significant vandalism of the elevator, and so the team is currently working on how we increase security in the area to avoid the vandalism, or actually be able to monitor the location, and because it actually has a significant impact accessibility to the train platform. So it's something that we're working on, and I guess we need the community to help us with that so that they don't actually vandalise the lift, but also we have replaced the glass perspex and just trying little things, but it's something that we make sure we understand it's a critical aspect. People in the community of the region.
Right. So the last item on the paper, which is also a decision item, is seeking the committee's support for the continuation of us investigating a charter rail service for the Zuru Nightglow event in 2024. The report sets out some of the experience of the charter that was run for the 2023 event, which was really positive. Tickets were sold out. Customers had a positive experience. Some of the lessons learned included whether that train should arrive earlier from Auckland to provide the chance for people to undertake something else in Hamilton, and making sure that we can get people back onto the train easily before it departs back up to Auckland, and that we were constrained in 2023 with some engineering work that was kicking in later that night. So the experience was a success, and we've been asked by the organisers of the Balloons Over Waikato event to consider whether a charter could be requested for the event next year. So there's some detail in the report, and that would result in a recommendation back to councils for funding consideration.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Just on that, what they're charging per person, is that a return price?
That was a single, I believe.
Single.
So
Okay.
about $25 single. So slightly over the $18 single price for a normal ticket.
Okay. And as Waka Kotahi chose not to subsidise that service last time, we can assume that that will be the same case this year. Any other questions?
My question was with regard to the $10,000 difference. And what if would be the cost to Aucklanders if we decided not to get 10,000? And what kind of cost benefit analysis be attached to that $10,000?
The event in 2023 for the first time was at Claudelands as a ticketed event this time. Those tickets were free, but the event organisers, I understand, knew that they had interest from a wider area than just the Hamilton and surrounding districts space for that. Those people would be required to drive and make their own arrangements otherwise, and I would suspect that most of them would have done that. That would have put, let's say, 150 cars on the road. We didn't undertake that analysis ahead of making the investment decision in 2023. The committee could request that we provide that to the regional council as part of their decision making. We supported it going ahead.
Thank you.
Just on that, I believe that last time the train did a dead run to pick up passengers in Auckland, returned with the Night Glow people, then went back up to Auckland with Night Glow people, and then returned on a dead run. Is it possible to make use of those journeys by offering that additional Saturday service to people in the Waikato who wish to go northbound? And if so, would that reduce the funding shortfall for that total service?
In effect, last year the normal Saturday service had gone up, and that was the train that brought people back, and then a dead run went up, and so it was combined with the way the Saturday service ran, even though there was a charter and there was the standard Saturday. Potentially by this time in 2024, we could be running a second return to Auckland anyway. I absolutely would support the idea that we could run an additional service for people, so long as it's communicated clearly to them that it wouldn't be something that it would be a special effectively. So we could get some revenue from that. You're absolutely right.
Just a quick comment, given that all 200 tickets pre-sold in advance, would that indicate that perhaps we could charge more as a way to, I don't know, just putting it out there?
And also, was it a 4-car consist or a 6?
It was a 4.
4.
There were some options presented in 2023 around full cost recovery, and then this was the middle option, and then there was effectively a heavily subsidised version. Option 2, which is this sort of pricing, was the approach that was supported last year. The full cost recovery option is there as a potential, and it would increase the costs for the customer. Yes.
Or even something in the middle. I think that I guess what I'm signaling is that I understand why we took that position in this case. I think that we use this to learn from it, and let's consider whether or not we could for some of the costs through an increase.
All right, if there's no further questions, the resolutions are up there. Just looking at number 4, if we do some work on potentially reducing that shortfall, that would change before it comes recommended to full council?
Yes, we could provide a cover report that additional information if required.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to take them as a whole? Okay, do I have a mover? Councillor Eugene, thank you. And a seconder? Thank you, Chair Pamela. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Right, thank you, Phil. All right. I'm going to move on to the network planning updates. We've got Catherine and Vincent. Or someone else, Trudy? Thank you, Trudy. Yeah.
Apologies. Thanks. So I'll just take the network planning update report as read. I did think though that since we're doing quite well with time, I might indulge and just go over a few key points which might be worth mentioning. The first is that the Hamilton service network improvements are continuing as per the refresh document, which was agreed about 18 months ago. There has been a bit of a slow progress and work in the past few months on that just because of all hands have been on deck for the meteor. So that will continue as per usual from next week. In terms of the review of the Eastern District services, that work has been progressing quite well and is nearing completion. The next steps for both aspects of the project, the first being new services and TCDC, which I know is slightly outside of future proof here, but I thought I'd just allude to it, as well as changes to the Eastern Connector. The next steps would be having meetings with the relevant elected members at all the 3 relevant district councils, being Matamata District Council, as well as Hauraki and TCDC. In terms of the Waikato District Council trials, which WDC are fully funding, those are progressing quite well. Raglan, the service in Raglan, is looking at this point that it might involve changes to the regional Raglan bus service, as well as having a new on-demand service in Raglan. So meetings with the community boards as well as Waikato District Council regarding that has been ongoing. And in terms of the Tamahiri and Matangi trial, we have been testing some route options with our operations team yesterday. We have preferred 2 route options, which we are taking to the community board on Monday. Just to also flag in terms of that service, there has been some correspondence with the Ministry of Education that has alluded to the fact that potentially should we implement the service, any fixed route service here, they might pull their school transport within the areas that might be impacted. So we do have a meeting with the Ministry of Education on Monday just to talk through this. We have been sharing some rough timetables without preferred route, solidified at this point. It has been quite high level discussions with them, but once we have a chosen route and a more detailed and realistic timetable of what the service could look like, the conversation may, vary with MOE regarding that. But yeah, happy to take any questions otherwise.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Yeah, MOA. So they're now talking about withdrawing services in Tamahiri, Matangi. Is that correct?
Yes, through the chair, possibly depending on what the timetable looks like and what the final route is and where it goes. But it is a possibility, yes. And it wouldn't be, sorry, just to add, the MOE service extends a little bit beyond, Tamahiri itself. So again, whether MOE will just make adjustments to their services and just possibly pull off a few roads where our bus may be or our vehicle may be, we're not sure yet. And hopefully my meeting on Monday will get some answers. But at this point, the service is going to be launching with only a 12-seater shuttle. So initial indications with MOE is that the service, our service, the new trial service, will not have capacity to carry all the children at all. So
it seems to be a bit of a recurring pattern with MOE withdrawing their services when we want to serve the wider community with our services. What sort of engagement are we having with MOE, and My understanding is that when they withdraw their services, they don't transfer any of their funding to us. How could we engage with them better?
So through the chair, we do actually have on our schedule, Sarah and I do have plans to meet with MOE. We have had initial conversations with Reed that from Ministry of Education that we are anticipating to clarify this going forward, because it is frustrating from our behalf if, if we're trying to implement new services and this is the implication each time. It is quite limiting to what we are wanting to do, and overall I don't think serves the community very well. So it is on our agenda for Sarah and I to take this up with Ministry of Education going forward.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Angela.
Thank you. Just two questions. One on Flex. I note in point 18 of the item, it says that it's currently under review and that some changes to the package of service enhancements may need to be revised. When can we expect that review to come back?
So through the chair, the review has 80% been completed at this point. It is part of our long-term plan process at the moment and funding applications and whatnot. So nearing completion, possibly I could bring it to the next future-proof report with some recommendations as to what we could do. This is particularly for the airport service, but doesn't exclude the NOW service either.
Sorry, I sneezed at when you said a particular two.
The airport service,
Yeah, because
but we can do the NOW service as
That's
well,
still
yes.
probably carrying just one person.
Yes, that's the one that does
Which is
have
a
the
concern.
lower performing patronage.
Yeah, okay.
So
So if it's possible to have that at the November meeting, because that's our last one for the year, that'd be really great.
yes, it'll be done by next month.
And then the second one is, and maybe this is to the chair of whether we need a motion on this. I feel like we've lost a little bit of line of sight in terms of putting back on the PP, the RPTP. In terms of some of those high level objectives, I mean, some of us sat through all those hearings, and one of them is that I put forward a motion that was supported that revenue from advertising on buses was used to fund pilot programs, and I'm just not seeing any of that coming through in any of these reports. I wonder if it's a conversation for you, Chair Angela, to see if we can have in these meetings a bit of a strategy monitor, perhaps, so that I don't want to get into the operational detail, but amazing things that we put in and some submissions, and I'm starting actually to hear, particularly from the dogs on buses that talked about and all of that kind of stuff. So that'd be great if we could do.
Good suggestion. Yeah, that high level strategy thinking. I think we could do better at, measuring how we're successful. Need a motion or just take action?
Thank you. Hey, look, I see we've got some really good work being done in the Waipā district. In particular, you notice that we're getting double decker buses. So this is really big for Cambridge and Te Awamutu. We're very much looking forward to starting in 2020. My question is just around local on demand. So I'm kind of waiting patiently for a review at some point or an opportunity to look at that for particular with with our growth, strong growth in Cambridge, and it's not stopping at all. So I'm just wondering, is there an opportunity, or are you already talking team, or is there an opportunity going forward to take a good look at this on-demand local opportunity?
Through the chair, we haven't actively been looking at on-demand in Waipā as of yet. There have been early discussions with and through their community paper, that signaling that that is the intention where transport with. My understanding is that that is a few years off from this point, and for the moment, transport within Waipa, if not Cambridge and Leamington specifically, is still as per the Waipa business case, but we are still open to having those conversations, and initial chats, conversations with those at Waipa District Council have indicated that it is on the radar. And part of the PT Pathways work that is agenda schedule will also address that. So definitely on the horizon, but something not actively being worked on at this.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. We've got next, Councillor Eugene.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's not a question, just a comment around the Tamahere Matangi service and discussions you're having. And a bit to one control. Back on. Crazy to do that, so.
Thank you. Mayor Adrian.
And yeah, again, following on from that, I guess there is a question, the need around the, or question, there's a need to understand the risks, obviously, with the MOE and the way they react or respond to whatever services are going to be provided. I assume that Tamahere and Matangi are zoned to Hillcrest, assume correct? So therefore the bus run is intended to take people into town. So you've got people getting off, you know, like that. To me, that I just sort of try and understand the picture, and the intent is bringing people into the city, not just into Hillcrest. And if there was school children getting on that bus, you know, and again, it's the element of, is it a school bus run or is it public transport? You know, like it's trying to achieve that balance. I really want to understand the risks around when these services are provided, the unintended consequences of, like the case of the MOE and how they respond and pull out of what they're doing. I'm just really challenged by and flagging those risks.
Thank you. I'll just add to that. That is the picture that we're also trying to paint with MOE, and where we can possibly find a middle ground, and for each possible new trial or service going forward, these risks will need to be well fleshed out.
Because I guess also is that student numbers, we don't know what the student numbers are coming from those communities, whereas presumably they should do, because those kids are attending schools, that they will have a plan of the, you know, the future students going there. So again, we don't have that information. So you potentially could be providing a service that we don't know. Again, MOE.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to circle back to what Councillor Stalwick was talking about with Cambridge, because on demand, Liz has mentioned it numerous times over the past triennium as well. So just really wanted to support you in what you're trying to do out there, and just wondering how we could advance it a little bit quicker. Would our rating of the whole region, would that enable us to be a bit more nimble, noting the change to the PTOM, for us to be able to own more vehicles that we could move around the region as well?
I think in general that would enable us to do a lot more, a lot quicker in all aspects of public transport. So yes, fundamentally. I think a key thing is also funding of services. So in this instance, why we've pushed quite quickly with Raglan is, you know, because what Karakia District Council have agreed to fully fund that. So again, if there's an opportunity for Waipa to fully fund an on-demand service, we could look at that a bit sooner, possibly. Otherwise, it will need to go through the LTP process and cost low risks.
Okay. I've just had David. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, just
before
I
Liz?
suppose I'm comforted by the fact that Ministry for the Environment at a staff level are being engaged, but I think there's a case here for Ministry of Education, MOE. They're all the same, all these ministries. Like DOC, Department of Conservation, or Department of Corrections. You don't want to get that one wrong. I think there's probably a case for a much higher level conversation here, and I know that Ministry for the Environment have Ministry for
Just say MOE.
Education have a regional director, and I feel bad about throwing him under the bus, but Marcus Freak. And I wonder if it's worth us having a conversation there, if only because I suspect that we will end up picking up half the cost of this as a funder. I do think we need to have a bigger conversation. They are the biggest public bus funder in the country. So, you know, I think we probably do need to have a pretty good relationship with them at that strategic level. I don't know if that needs a motion or just a suggestion that we try and connect. I'm happy to reach out to Marcus and make a connection.
Sorry, if I could just add, the Ministry of Education is also on the agenda for our next Regional Transport Committee meeting, and I think questions through them will also be, they'll have opportunity then to questions.
Okay, I don't think it would hurt though to maybe grease the wheels before that meeting. So I would be in favour of Waka Kotahi, MOE and Regional Council meeting before that, and I'd like to be involved in that.
Look, two things, I guess. First of all, with the MOE, absolutely agree with more conversations happening. If I think about Te Awamutu and how many buses are leaving Te Awamutu daily, I'm going to say 5 or 6 full buses going into Hamilton schools. So there's something that needs to be kind of considered around this, and understanding what the future looks like. I think that's probably where we want to go with this, really. Look, going back to the Cambridge thing, we've got the Cambridge Connections, big piece of work that you referred to. We'll drive that, you know, on local on-demand service through that. I think that's probably a really good way forward. And we can, you know, have an action point hopefully out of that subcommittee coming back through. Just as a note in the report, it did mention Cambridge Connections will be reporting back in July. There has delay, so it's more likely towards the end of the year.
All right, thank you. Is there anything further? If not, we'll look to receive the report. Thank you. I'm happy to move that one. Do I have a seconder? Yep, thank you, Mayor Adrian. All those in favour? Aye, against? Carried. Thank you, Catherine. Over to you, Trudy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like you to take this next report as read and through the chair, happy to take any questions. However, like my colleague here, Catherine, I'll just give you a few brief sound bites as we've got a little bit of time. This report focuses obviously on the performance to date, and you'll see that there's some good news story in here with the patronage for the bus services now up to and exceeding the levels pre-COVID, which is a good news story for us. It has been challenging. Also, we will look beyond that to be rolling out the Project Refresh service improvements through to June 2024, in which you will see this will be the highest level of kilometres that we've delivered to date through the bus services. In addition to that, and look, earlier we've covered Te Huia and the prohibition issue that we had faced, but I think Phil did cover the performance quickly after that prohibition had lifted, free travel, and looking forward, numbers are fairly strong. And then if we move on to actually what's happening on the ground, we've had some significant pieces of delivery in terms of the Community Connect initiative that was proposed by government back a couple of months ago with a a very expedient expectation of councils to deliver and deploy. So we've successfully delivered that initiative. And just to recap, what was that? It was enabling children up to the age of 13 to travel free, and those 13 to 24 to have a half price fare. And in addition to that, there was also a component in terms of sort of total mobility. But in this region, we have the accessibility concession, which offers that free travel. So we didn't need to do anything there. So look, the uptake has been good. The transition is fairly streamlined. It's all about getting people using the B card, registering the B card, embracing that, and it also sets us up strategically to help support what will come with the national ticketing system. So yeah, that's just a few sound bites from this report, and happy to take any questions if received.
Yeah, thank you, Trudy, for your report. And yeah, pleasing to see what's happening with Te Huia and the Comet and the Orbiter, and yeah, getting back to pre-COVID levels and actually exceeding it. Point 10, are we up 35% on those two services?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
Yeah.
that's something worth celebrating. Even have a positive press release could be in the making there. Just on the airport flex service, yeah. So it says staff are currently reviewing, or council is currently reviewing this service. Have we noticed any anomalies to the use of this service, such as I know with Te Huia stopping at Huntly and bringing people to the base? Is anyone using flex for different purposes that we know of, that, you know, maybe we could expand that? So maybe it's not just people using it to fly out of the airport, but it could be a good midway point for pick-up and drop-offs to Te Awamutu or Cambridge, that sort of thing. Have we got any data on that? Or
Through the chair, thank you, Angela. We haven't got any statistical data as such, but we do have the mechanism through the Flex app to capture some data. So I think, so council sort of believe at this stage it is the time to you know, put out a survey of the services. It's been running since December 2022. 21 rather. So yes, I think that would be the appropriate mechanism to just tap into what the use of the service has been taken up for, and then also you know, reach out in terms of sort of suggestion as well with where we could do better, and in terms of your servicing at the moment.
yeah, I
makes
just wonder if
sense.
there's potentially a hidden market there. Yeah, Councillor Liz.
Just following on from your lead there, Angela. So, look, there probably is a really good opportunity. I don't think that we can look at that service now and consider it a success, can we? So, looking for alternatives. I firmly believe that no one in Cambridge or Te Awamutu even knows it's even happening. So, because it is largely promoted as a Hamilton to airport service, so you know, there's been probably no need to promote it out to Waipa. But hey, maybe this is an opportunity to try and make it successful. So there are a couple of people who've twigged onto it, but I don't think many. So I think that would be a great opportunity. Hey, look, and just looking at the, you know, the rest of the report, some excellent increases, improvements in patronage. Really pleasing to see that, you know, we've seen some steady increases. I don't really look at the 2020-21 numbers. I just go back to 2019 when life was normal. But, you know, when you compare those numbers I think, yeah, there's been some great improvements, and it just feels like, people are considering public transport as a really good alternative. But really want to continue to improve, referring back to Angela earlier around some of our other recommendations, disabilities, dogs, all those sorts of things. We need to get better at doing a lot of this. And actioning a lot of the good thinking that's already been done. So yeah, to commend everybody on the good work so far, but we can do better.
Thank you, Liz. Mayor Adrian, then I've got Ollie.
Just a question really around the Matamata service, because obviously it's still a relatively new one. How's it performing? Like, because obviously there was the criticism of the change, because there's nobody on the bus at 1 o'clock and that sort of carry on. So can you give me any feedback, please, on how it's going? I've seen some kids getting off it there when I was in town the other day. I thought, oh, there's a group of people using it, but yeah, can you give me some feedback,
Thank you.
please?
Through the chair, just as a broad, high level overview, I guess, it has been doing quite well. Its patronage on the Matamata leg of the Eastern Connector service has steadied, and initially I think it started a bit of a rocky start, but patronage is looking quite well. But it forms part of the review of that Eastern Connector, which I'll be talking about. Yes, but I think overall patronage is looking quite good on that. Yep.
Ollie.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments regarding the Flex service. So for the one going out to the airport, I live just up Houchins Road, so I'd have to go all the way from my house into town with my suitcase, in my wheelchair, which would be a bit of a mission to get to the transport centre and then back out to the airport. So that seems, a bit strange to me. So, I think there's an opportunity there for the Flex bus to stop at, the end of Houchins Road, for example, to make it a lot easier and more accessible for people with disabilities. And also, just on the Flex service, that on-demand thing is a great way for disabled people to get around. I've experienced it in Wellington, and yeah, often used it. So I think it's a really good opportunity to look into. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Ollie. You make some great points about how we could utilise those flex vehicles better. And I know that staff are doing some thinking around total mobility and our flex vehicles as well. As we're putting on these fast and frequent services, due to it trying to be cost neutral, we often take away some of those coverage services as well. So, I'd like to think that we are looking to plug those gaps for our disabled community and elderly as well, where that 800-metre policy within Hamilton is just that step too far for so many people. So I'd be keen to hear some sort of update where our thinking's got to around total mobility and the flex vehicles at some stage, please.
Through the chair, and didn't we invest in vehicles through? And so when are they? Purchase of training.
Through the chair, actually uncertain of whether that has gone through. I do know we have 6 flex vehicles at the moment, which are fully utilised to support the night rider services, and I'm sure we can take that away and check into that.
Be good for me to have it correct for us to I don't know what came of it. But I'd ask while we.
I guess I can just confirm there's nothing on order as we speak.
Thank you. Councillor Maxine.
Oops. No, it's gone.
That's all right. It happens.
It might come back. Oh, yes, yes, it is coming back. So sorry, meeting. Distracted. I just wondered if this is the paper and the opportunity to ask about bus drivers and our access to a good pool of them. Where are we at in terms of some real surety about their availability on our service?
Through the chair, look, the latest update in terms of the driver pool as such, as you refer to, is our operator GoBus have completed recruitment of the necessary level of drivers that we need to support what we're going to launch this afternoon in terms of the Meteor, as well as supporting what is coming up in terms of Project Refresh. So the operator is in a business ready state to support those uplifts in service. I believe they have recruited 40 additional staff, predominantly external to New Zealand. So the process to get them, you know, up to sort of the standard, the New Zealand standard, has taken longer than if you're recruiting sort of locally, but very, very significant focus on that recruitment drive and getting them ready to support our council requirements. So if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does, totally. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Adrian. Seconder. I'm happy to second. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. All right. On to our last report. PT infrastructure.
Yes, thank you. I will take the PT infrastructure report as read. Overall, all the roading controlling authorities are progressing with their infrastructure upgrades, whether it be through on the ground works, funded largely through SURF projects, like bus stop replacements or bus stop improvements, or whether it's pieces of supporting work or business cases. So yeah, I'll just open the floor to questions for that.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Yeah, one question I often get, actually from the same person regularly, is about our real-time information displays that Regional Council owns. Do we have an update of when they will be implemented, please?
Yes, we do. So we've just recently gone out to market to procure the real-time hardware, software and installation off the back of the endorsement of some SURF funding through Wakakatahi. The process is at the stage where we're progressing signature of contract, but with a view with a preferred supplier who is Radiola Limited for an order to be placed within September with an expected delivery and installation and go live February 2024. So the magnitude of what is being procured would be in the realms of between 50 and 80 new real-time signs for on street. And some will be significant than others in terms of supporting the key hubs compared to several route bus stops compared to single route bus stops. I hope that answers the question.
So we've finally got a go live date window?
Yes, so February 2024. It is dependent on the supply chain, as seems to be the common theme these days, but that's what the supplier is provided in terms of the project plan. So that is what we're aiming for at this stage, and can update.
Thank you. Is there anything we can do in the interim? Or I know there's key bus stops that people often, they really want that information, and not everyone has a smartphone as well to be able to check the transit app. Is there any old-fashioned paper displays or something we can do in that interim?
Through the chair, thinking what we've done in the past is if there is reoccurring feedback, of course we have the ability to put some paper collateral at those affected stops. I guess also at the moment the team do ensure that there's a wide spread of printed collateral around the region, and that stood up also through our various retailers and other designated sites outside of the transport.
Deputy Mayor Angela.
Thanks, Chair. A few questions. Just I notice on page table 1, our system's different, so I'm on page 240. But in terms of just reporting back on the policies, I think this is what I was talking about. This is the policies of Objective 5 of the RPTP. But there's still more information. I think still that the whole plan that needs back on. But just I'm wondering if in that possible conversation with Chair Angela or in this report that you could give us an idea of in terms of the assistance animals for persons with disability on the bus. That was a significant issue from that we got in submissions, and the outcome that I was seeking on their behalf was signage, a campaign, all of that, not just educating the drivers. That was a key thing, but just wondering, and I know this is getting a little into the detail, if either you can give me some assurance now or you can report back on actually what is the shift change for that.
Can report back to you on that.
Brilliant,
the next
thank
time.
you.
Great, thank
And
you.
then I think the same with policy 64, which again, there were a lot of submissions about priority seating areas in the front for wheelchair bays. That was in there as well, as the level of service is just not meeting the needs of the community. Thank you so much. Second question. In terms of, and I'm on under growth, this is kind of HCC stuff, but we will be opening the bridge to Peacock. I think tentative date is December. Wish it was September. And of course, there's bus priority lanes going across that. Just want an understanding of, I know there's not too many people living in Peacock at the moment, but once that bridge is open, I think access for it will change. The city movements will change. So what's the, either now or in the next report, the plans for getting a bus over and using those lanes?
In terms of PT bus infrastructure, service enhancements through Peacocks, we are still working in line with the agreed staging plan for Peacocks between WRC and HCC. The Peacocks Bridge really only comes into play at about stage 3, when there's more development and supporting
And what
residential.
time is
We are only still at stage 1A.
that?
So
Years away
it's
then, right?
yeah. So conversations with HCC recently have indicated that it's unlikely that we will be running any PT services over the bridge this year or within next year.
Sarah's
And
popped her waving her hand.
yeah, she
Sorry.
can add comment as well.
Yeah, go over and use the microphone, please.
So this is one of the things that PT Pathways IBC is also going to look at, because there's discussion going on at the moment amongst the TWG based on conversations that we're getting from elected members on park and ride facilities, interim park and ride, connections to the airport, because the airport growth has come forward much faster than any of us anticipated. So I guess my answer is we're probably not looking in the next year or maybe two, but we might be looking towards the next NLTP, interim PNRs that will then make use of that bridge. The reason why we're a little bit kind of reticent at the moment is the concern with bus priority lanes is always that if you put buses on them, but you don't put enough buses on them, people then moan that there's no buses using the bus lane, which is almost as bad a position as you having forward funded a bus lane and said, well, actually, no, we forward funded it because you can't clip on a bus lane later onto a bridge. So we've made the right decision. Yeah. For me, I think that's a better comm story. We've future-proofed that bridge. Okay. And as time goes on, we'll look to put as many buses over that bridge. And we're planning for that, rather than just putting buses on the bridge at an hourly or very infrequent rate that then leaves you open to nobody's really using it. But we are having those conversations, and PT Pathways will start looking at whether we can accelerate PT implementation in the south of the city.
Okay. That sounds like common. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. And then just lastly, Chair, if you'll indulge me in making a wee comment. We HCC around delivering our surf projects across the city, and one in my committee, a decision was put forward, and I had to use my casting vote, and that was the Horsham Downs in-lane bus stop project, and that safety concerns have come that we've got to move the bus stop from shopping centre and put it on the road, and obviously for mobility, micro-mobility and all the other good things. I'm aware that there's a notice of motion to revoke that, so it could be coming to the 7th of September council meeting. So I don't know if WRC are aware of that, but you should be aware of that. It's on concern. So yeah, maybe through you, Chair, I will talk to you, but I also wanted to say that publicly. There could be some serious safety audit that talking with WRC, obviously, that bus from Meta shopping centre. Thank you for allowing me to say that publicly.
Yeah, just on that, can we just get some clarity from regional council staff about the purpose of that bus stop? Is it a timing point? Do we see any reasons why an in-lane bus stop might not work here? Or is it the best fit so that HCC can be reassured to be confident in their decision? Oh, here we go, Martin.
So just through the chair, I'll ask Martin Parks to also join Trudy at the table. So Martin Parks is a Hamilton City Council Urban Transport Mobility Manager. I always forget his title.
So do I from time
it
to time.
changes. Yes. And he is managing the surf projects and works very closely with deliver the transport infrastructure for.
So through the chair, just responding to that, the Horsham Downs project is made up of a number of components. It's not just a PT project. So we've got cycling facilities as well. protected. And we've got a pedestrian crossing there as well as improvements to PT infrastructure. The project came about through discussions with the Regional Council about services, I suppose, trundling through the Rototuna Shopping Centre, and that being a sort of health and safety issue. Concerns about buses mixing with people shopping, young families, people with mobility issues. Also, the discussion was around the efficiency of running a service through a shopping centre. There's a lot of delays in that. So we landed on, looking to remove the services out of the shopping centre and provide infrastructure on Horsham Downs Road. It is a timing point. The in-lane bus stop there isn't the timing point, so we are putting in a bus lay-by for the timing point. There'll be 2 in-lane bus stops that will be the scheduled services that will run. So we never put timing points on in-lane stops.
Right, thank you for that clarity. Yeah, I mean, that safety concern is a major, yeah. Yeah, and efficiencies as well for the service not trundling through there, as you say, Martin. Yeah, thank you for providing that clarity for us. Is there anything further from anyone around the table? No? Okay. Thank you, Mayor Adrian. Moved by Mayor Adrian, seconded by Councillor Maxine. All those in favour? Against? Carried. All right. Thank you, Catherine and Trudy. Right, we'll do the karakia, and then just before everyone leaves, we've just got some information about the Meteor launch, but close the meeting first and then move on to that. Thank you, Evelisa.
Unuhia mai te uru tapu nui kia wātia. Kia māma te nākau, te tinana, te heninaro, I te ara takutu, Huia rā e rongo, e whakairia ake ki runga, kia tina, tina, haumie, huie, taikie.
Thank you, Evelisa. And yeah, thank you everyone for your attendance today, and those online. We appreciate you joining us as well. Right, who's got the information for the Meteor launch?